I never thought the day would come when I would feel so utterly betrayed by my own parents. Ever since I can remember, I had dreamed of that car. It wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of freedom, of my hard work, of every little victory I had earned over the years. Every dollar I saved felt like a step closer to that dream. Every conversation with friends about cars, every late night researching models online, every mental image of myself driving down the open road, it all led to that moment I thought I would finally have it. But without warning, without any conversation, all of that was ripped away from me. I discovered that my parents had sold the car to my sister. At first, I was frozen. I couldn't even process it. It felt like the ground had vanished beneath my feet. How could they do this? How could they just take something that meant so much to me and hand it to someone else, as if I didn't even exist? My mind raced, mixing anger, disbelief, and heartbreak into a whirlwind that I couldn't escape. I thought about every sacrifice I had made, every cent I had saved, every dream I had nurtured, and suddenly it all felt pointless. But then, instead of sinking into despair, something inside me decided that I could not accept this. I had to act, but I had to act with intelligence, not blind rage. I spent hours thinking, planning every step. I replayed every memory tied to that car. The first time I saw it, the day I imagined myself behind the wheel, the weekend spent studying every detail of the model, the hours imagining myself driving through the city streets, feeling the engine roar beneath me. Each memory strengthened my resolve. I wanted to recover not just my car, but also my dignity. I wanted to show them all that you cannot mess with someone's dreams without consequences. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. I knew I couldn't just take the car back without confrontation. That would only create chaos. So I devised a plan to make my sister understand the true value of what she had received. She had to pay me, every single penny. As I developed my plan, I imagined every possible scenario. I thought about yelling, crying, arguing with my parents, confronting my sister with fury, but I realized that those actions would be impulsive, destructive, and ultimately pointless. I needed to approach this calmly, with strategy, with clarity. Every word I spoke had to carry weight. Every argument had to be undeniable. When I finally spoke to my sister, I maintained a calm, steady tone. She initially laughed, thinking I was exaggerating or joking. "Sister, wait, are you serious? You want me to pay every penny? That's insane." "Me, I'm completely serious. This isn't about money alone. My parents betrayed me, and you received something that was never yours. Every single penny you owe me represents more than just a car. It's about respect, about recognizing the effort I put in." I explained exactly how my parents had betrayed me, how much that car meant to me, and why I couldn't let it go. I showed her every plan, every record, every detail that proved this car was my dream, something I had worked for my entire life. Slowly, her expression changed. The laughter faded, replaced by surprise, then worry. Each word I said seemed to carry more weight than anything she could argue back. She began to understand that there was no escaping the situation. She would have to repay me, not just in money, but in respect for the effort and commitment behind that dream. As she began to pay me back, each gesture felt like a lesson in itself. I wasn't just reclaiming my car. I was showing that injustices have consequences, that nobody should underestimate the value of what another person has earned through hard work. There were no yelling matches, no epic fights, just the slow, steady restoration of justice and the satisfaction of reclaiming what was mine while teaching an important lesson. After it was all done, I didn't just feel victorious. I felt stronger, more confident, more aware that even when someone you love betrays you, there is always a way to fight for what's rightfully yours. My parents, of course, were shocked. They had never imagined I would react like this, that I would turn the situation into a lesson that restored both my car and my dignity, and also showed them that decisions that impact others have consequences. In the days that followed, every time I drove my car, I felt more than just freedom. Each turn, every stoplight, every open road reminded me of the journey that led me here, the patience, the strategy, the determination. The thrill of the engine beneath my hands was accompanied by the knowledge that I had not only recovered my car, but had turned betrayal into a lesson of strength and intelligence. I began to reflect on all the moments that led to this, the afternoons spent researching, the late nights calculating budgets, the quiet determination I felt while planning my approach. Each flashback reminded me why I had fought so hard. My sister learned about responsibility. My parents learned that their actions, no matter how well-intentioned they thought they were, could not go unchallenged. And I learned that even in the face of deception and betrayal, you can rise above with patience, strategy, and resolve. There were quiet, tense moments, too. Moments when I doubted myself, wondering if I could face my sister without losing control, if I could confront my parents without screaming. I imagined the confrontation over and over in my head, what I would say, how I would stand my ground, how I would make them understand the weight of their mistake. And when the moment finally came, the tension was palpable. Every heartbeat felt like a drum in my chest as I prepared to speak, knowing that everything depended on my composure. Sister, I don't get it. Why are you so serious about this? It's just a car. Me, it's never just been a car. It's every ounce of effort I've put into my life, every goal I've worked toward, every dream I've nurtured. You need to understand that taking it from me without consideration has consequences. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw genuine realization there. She could see that I meant every word. Slowly, carefully, she began to understand. Step by step, she repaid me. Each payment was a reminder that justice, even when delayed, can be restored. And as I drove again, feeling the wind on my face, the roar of the engine beneath my hands, I realized that this was more than just reclaiming a car. This was reclaiming my self-respect, my sense of justice, my belief that betrayal does not have to mean defeat. The car may have been the symbol, but the real victory was the lesson learned, for me, for my sister, and for my parents. Every mile I drove was a reminder. Even when those you love betray you, there is a way to fight back, to recover what is yours, and to turn pain into triumph. And this is the story of how my parents betrayed me, how I was wronged, and how I transformed that betrayal into a victory I will never forget. A story of strategy, patience, determination, and ultimately justice. My parents sold my gaming setup to my brother. I got revenge, expanded. I had spent months saving every single dollar for the ultimate gaming setup. Every night, I planned how I would assemble it, the games I would play, the streams I would host. It wasn't just a hobby. It was my escape, my sanctuary, the place where I felt most alive. I imagined the RGB lights illuminating my room, the powerful PC humming beneath my desk, the feeling of absolute immersion in my favorite games. But one morning, I walked into my room and saw nothing. Every piece of equipment, every accessory, every item I had carefully chosen gone. My parents had sold it to my younger brother. I couldn't believe it. My heart sank, my chest tightened, and for a moment I felt paralyzed. How could they take something that I had worked so hard for, that I had dreamed about for months, and give it to someone else? At first, I thought I would scream, break something, or storm out of the house. But then I realized, if I reacted with rage, I'd lose everything. I needed strategy. I needed a plan. I had to make sure my brother understood the value of what he had received, and that my parents understood the consequences of their actions. I spent days documenting everything: receipts, assembly notes, emails from suppliers, screenshots of build guides. I even made a timeline showing exactly when I had purchased or ordered each piece. This wasn't just about a gaming setup anymore. It was about respect and justice. When I finally confronted my brother, I kept my voice calm but firm. "Brother, relax, it's just gaming stuff. Why are you making this such a big deal?" "Me, it's never just stuff. This is months of my time, effort, and planning. You didn't earn this, and you can't just take it." At first, he laughed, thinking I was exaggerating. I didn't flinch. I went through each item, explaining its significance, how I had worked, saved, and researched to acquire it. Slowly, his expression changed. He realized that this was not a game. He began to return each component, one by one, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes apologetically. I didn't just get my setup back. I regained my dignity. My parents, witnessing the process, realized their mistake. The lesson was clear: effort and planning matter, and taking what belongs to someone else has consequences. By the end, I not only had my ultimate gaming setup restored, but I also felt stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever before. My parents gave my college scholarship to my sister. I made things right, expanded. I had worked for years to earn a scholarship to my dream university. Every late night, every essay, every project, every extracurricular activity had been a stepping stone to this moment. My parents had always said they were proud, that they supported me, but when I received the shocking news that the scholarship had been given to my sister instead, it felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me. I couldn't breathe. I felt betrayed, powerless, and overwhelmed by a mix of anger and sadness. How could my parents prioritize someone else over years of my hard work? But after the initial shock, I realized that despair would get me nowhere. I needed a plan. I spent days gathering evidence, emails, acceptance letters, application forms, recommendations, everything that proved I had earned the scholarship. I prepared a logical, calm argument for my parents and my sister. I needed to show them that fairness and effort mattered more than favoritism. When I confronted my sister, I spoke with a firm, unwavering voice. "Sister, but Mom and Dad said I needed this more." "Me, you didn't earn it." "I did. I worked for years, stayed up late every night, gave it everything I had. This scholarship is mine." She initially resisted, arguing that parents' decisions mattered, that it was just a piece of paper. But I walked her through the facts, showing dates, emails, achievements, and the effort I had put in. Slowly, she realized the truth. She apologized and agreed to step aside. The process was tense and emotionally exhausting. There were long pauses, tears, and moments of doubt. But in the end, I regained the scholarship. My parents finally understood that their actions had consequences, and I learned that persistence, logic, and patience can restore fairness even in the most emotionally charged situations. My parents sold my dream house. I fought to take it back, expanded. 4 years, I had been saving every possible penny for the house I had dreamed about. It wasn't just a house. It was my independence, my sanctuary, a place where I could build my life and future. I had researched every detail, pictured every room, and imagined myself living there. Then any day, I arrived to find the keys handed to my sister. My parents had sold the house without consulting me. I felt as though everything I had worked for had been ripped away in an instant. Shock, disbelief, and anger overwhelmed me. How could they do this? How could they think it was acceptable to take away my dream home? I knew that reacting impulsively would only make things worse. So I spent weeks reviewing contracts, speaking with lawyers, and preparing my argument. I needed a plan that was precise, logical, and unshakable. When I confronted my sister, I remained calm. I presented every document, every proof of my financial contributions, and explained why she could not keep the house. Sister, I didn't know it meant this much to you. Me, it's not just the house. It's my effort, my sacrifices, and my dream. You need to respect that. There were tense negotiations, moments of silent staring, emotional arguments. Slowly, ownership was restored. My parents learned that taking decisions without considering the impact on others can have serious consequences. I finally held the keys to my dream home, but the true victory was the lesson that effort and planning can overcome betrayal. My parents sold my rare art collection. I got it back, expanded. Art was my passion. Each piece I had collected was more than a painting or sculpture. It was a story, a memory of victory. But one day, I discovered my parents had sold the entire collection to my cousin, believing it would benefit the family. I was devastated. Years of dedication gone in an instant. But I refused to react impulsively. I carefully documented each piece, gathered appraisals, and calculated what I was owed. This wasn't just about money, it was about respect for my passion and my hard work. When I confronted my cousin, I spoke calmly, explaining the importance of each piece and the unfairness of taking them. Cousin, I didn't realize it meant that much to you. Me, it's not just objects. These pieces represent years of effort, learning, and love. You need to make this right. Through careful negotiation, I reclaimed my collection piece by piece. It was a painstaking, emotional process, but it proved that intelligence and preparation can restore what was unjustly taken. My parents, witnessing the process, finally understood the gravity of their mistake. My parents took my startup idea. I made them regret it, expanded. I had been developing a startup idea for years, pouring every ounce of creativity and effort into it. I had sketches, prototypes, financial plans, and projections. But one day, I had discovered my parents had shared the idea with my sibling and helped them launch it first. I was crushed. Every plan, every late night, every sacrifice had been stolen. But I knew reacting impulsively would solve nothing. I needed a strategic plan. I gathered timestamps, emails, prototypes, and all evidence proving the idea was mine. When I confronted my sibling, I kept my voice calm but firm. Sibling, it's just a business idea. Why are you making this a big deal? Me, it's not just an idea. It's years of my work. Every step you took was built on my effort. You need to give me recognition and repayment. The negotiation was long, tense, and emotional. I presented my evidence, explained the timeline, and showed exactly how I had been wronged. Step by step, I reclaimed my credit and compensation. My parents were shocked by the outcome, realizing that taking advantage of someone's hard work has consequences. In the end, I not only regained what was mine, but also learned the power of patience, strategy, and persistence. My parents sold my dream bike. I took it back. Expanded version. I had dreamed of owning the perfect motorcycle for years. Every weekend, I researched models, compared features, and saved every penny I could. That bike wasn't just a vehicle, it was freedom, independence, and a symbol of every sacrifice I had made. I had imagined myself riding along the coastline, feeling the wind against my face, the roar of the engine beneath me, the freedom of escaping the ordinary. Then one morning, I walked into the garage, and it was gone. My parents had sold it to my cousin. For a moment, the world stopped. Shock, disbelief, and anger collided inside me. How could they betray me like this? How could they take something so important and hand it to someone else, without even telling me? I felt my heart racing as I sat down, trying to breathe. My mind replayed every moment I had dreamed of riding that bike, every dollar saved, every late-night research session. I refused to give in to despair. I needed a plan. I spent days gathering evidence, receipts, bank statements, photographs, and notes about every feature I had researched. I made a list of all the conversations I had with my parents and cousin about the bike. This wasn't just about material things anymore. It was about respect, fairness, and standing up for myself. Finally, I confronted my cousin. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I stood firm, calm and calculated. Cousin, I didn't know it meant that much to you. Me, it's not just a bike. It's my effort, my dream, my future. You need to make this right. There were tense moments, silence hanging in the air. He hesitated, avoiding my gaze. I explained every detail, every late night spent saving, every plan I had made to customize it. Slowly, he began to understand. One by one, I reclaimed the parts, from the engine to the helmet. Each piece I got back felt like a victory. My parents, watching silently, finally understood the consequences of their actions. The day I finally rode it again, I felt not just the freedom of the open road, but also the satisfaction of having turned betrayal into a lesson. Every mile I rode reminded me of the patience, strategy, and determination it took to get my dream back. My parents gave my job opportunity to my sister. I fought for my career. Expanded version. I had worked tirelessly for months preparing for an internship that could define my career. Every application, every interview, every late night spent researching companies was a step closer to my dream. I had envisioned the day I would walk into the office, confident and prepared, ready to prove myself. Then I discovered the betrayal. My parents had recommended my sister instead. My opportunity had been stolen. Shock and anger surged through me. I felt betrayed and powerless, but I refused to react impulsively. I knew that strategy and persistence were the only way to reclaim what was mine. I meticulously documented everything: emails, portfolios, letters of recommendation, my entire preparation timeline. I rehearsed my argument, anticipating every objection. When I confronted my sister and my parents, I maintained calm authority. Sister, I thought it would help me. I didn't realize it was such a big deal. Me, It's a big deal because I earned it. Every step I took, every hour I worked was mine. You need to let fairness prevail. At first, they resisted, arguing about intentions and family support. But I calmly walked them through the facts, showing dates, achievements, and the effort I had invested. Slowly, they began to understand. My sister stepped back, and I regained the opportunity. It wasn't just about a job. It was a lesson for everyone about fairness, effort, and persistence. I felt a renewed sense of confidence, knowing that logic and determination could overcome even deep personal betrayal. My parents sold my dream house. I fought to take it back. Expanded version. I had spent years saving for the house I dreamed of. It wasn't just a property. It was a sanctuary, a symbol of independence and everything I had worked for. I had imagined every room, every corner, every detail. Then one morning, the news hit me. My parents had sold the house to my sister. My dream, my future, gone in an instant. Shock, disbelief, and rage consumed me. But I knew acting impulsively would only make things worse. I had to be strategic. I spent weeks reviewing contracts, legal documents, and payment records. I consulted experts and prepared my argument carefully, knowing every word mattered. When I confronted my sister, I remained calm but firm. Sister, I didn't know it meant this much to you. Me, it's not just a house. It's my work, my sacrifice, and my dream. You can't just take it. Negotiations were tense and emotional, with moments of silence and raised voices. But step by step, ownership was restored. My parents learned a lesson about the consequences of acting without thinking. Holding the keys to my dream home was more than victory. It was proof that patience, strategy, and determination can overcome betrayal. My parents sold my rare art collection. I got it back. Expanded version. Art was my passion. Each piece I collected was more than decoration. It was a milestone, a story, a triumph. Then one day, I discovered my parents had sold the collection to a family friend. My heart sank. I refused to react impulsively. I cataloged every piece, documented its value, and explained its importance. I prepared a calm, logical confrontation. Friend, I didn't realize it was so important to you. Me, these aren't just objects. They are my effort, my passion, my achievements. You need to return them. Step by step, I reclaimed each piece, carefully explaining the significance to everyone involved. The process was tense and emotional, but ultimately successful. My parents understood the weight of their mistake, and I learned that strategy and patience are more powerful than anger. My parents took my startup idea. I made them regret it. Expanded version. I had spent years developing a startup idea, from brainstorming sessions to prototypes and financial plans. But one day, I discovered my parents had shared it with my sibling, helping them launch it first. I was devastated, but I refused to give in. I gathered timestamps, emails, sketches, and prototypes to prove ownership. I approached my sibling calmly but firmly. Sibling, it's just an idea. Why are you so serious? Me, it's not just an idea. It's years of effort, late nights, and sacrifice. You need to give me recognition and compensation. The negotiation was long and tense, full of silence, raised voices, and emotional moments. Slowly, I reclaimed the credit and compensation. My parents were shocked, finally realizing that taking advantage of someone's hard work has consequences. I emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. My parents took my laptop for my sister. I fought for my work, expanded version. My laptop wasn't just a device, it was my life. Every document, every project, every research note depended on it. I had stayed up late for weeks, pouring every ounce of energy into an important project that could define my future. And then I discovered it was gone. My parents had given it to my sister. Shock hit me like a lightning bolt. I felt a mix of disbelief, anger, and panic. How could they take something so critical without even asking? My mind raced through all the hours I had invested, the deadlines I had met, the sacrifices I had made. And yet, amid the chaos of my emotions, I realized that reacting impulsively would only make things worse. I began to plan. I documented every file, every note, every version of my project. I even recreated a timeline of the work I had done on the laptop, showing exactly when and how each milestone had been achieved. I rehearsed my confrontation, imagining every possible response from my sister and my parents. When I finally spoke to her, I maintained a calm, deliberate tone. Sister, I didn't know it mattered this much. It's not just a laptop. It's my work, my time, my future. You need to give it back, and we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. She initially tried to brush it off, claiming she needed it more. But I walked her through my evidence, drafts, deadlines, and the significance of the project. Slowly, the weight of my words sank in. She began returning files, one by one, apologizing as the reality of the situation became clear. Watching my parents witness the process, I realized the lesson was bigger than just a laptop. It was about accountability, planning, and respect. When I finally had my laptop back, I felt more empowered, confident, and aware of the strength it takes to fight for what is yours. My parents sold my sports equipment. I made things right, expanded version. Sports had always been my sanctuary. Every piece of equipment I owned represented effort, dedication, and countless hours of training. One day, I discovered my parents had sold everything to my cousin without consulting me. I felt as though the foundation of my life had been ripped away. At first, I was paralyzed. My gear wasn't just equipment, it was my identity. But after the initial shock, I knew I had to act strategically. I spent days listing every item, noting purchase dates, values, and the impact each piece had on my training. I gathered receipts, videos of competitions, and even messages showing my dedication over the years. When I confronted my cousin, I maintained a calm, firm tone. Cousin, I didn't realize it was this important to you. These items aren't just gear. They represent years of hard work, determination, and passion. You need to return them. The negotiation was tense. There were moments of silence, hesitation, and small arguments. I calmly explained why each item mattered, linking it to competitions, training sessions, and personal growth. Piece by piece, the equipment was returned. By the end, I not only regained my sports gear but also a sense of respect and empowerment. My parents, watching quietly, finally understood that hard work and dedication cannot be taken lightly. My parents gave my vacation fund to my brother. I reclaimed it, expanded version. I had saved for months to go on a dream vacation, a trip I had imagined for years. Every evening, I planned the itinerary, the experiences, the memories I would create. It wasn't just about travel. It was about freedom, discovery, and reward for my hard work. Then I discovered my parents had given the fund to my brother. My heart sank. Every plan, every dream, every expectation had been ripped away in an instant. I felt disbelief, anger, and betrayal. But I knew that lashing out wouldn't solve anything. I needed strategy. I documented every transaction, every savings account entry, and every plan I had made. I prepared my argument calmly but firmly, anticipating objections and emotional reactions. When I approached my parents, I explained step by step why the fund was rightfully mine. This wasn't just money. It's my effort, my savings, and my dream. You can't just reassign it without asking me. They tried to argue intentions and fairness, but I maintained calm authority, presenting every piece of evidence I had. Slowly, they began to understand. I reclaimed the fund and planned my vacation, each step teaching my parents and my brother that respect, effort, and planning matter. When I finally set off on the trip, the sense of victory was overwhelming. It wasn't just the destination, it was the journey of reclaiming what was mine. My parents sold my photography equipment. I got it back. Expanded version. Photography had been my life. Each camera, lens, and accessory represented years of learning, exploration, and passion. One day, I discovered my parents had sold my entire collection to a family friend. My heart sank. I refused to panic. I cataloged each piece, noting purchase dates, value, and personal significance. I prepared a calm, detailed approach to reclaiming the equipment. Friend, I didn't realize it was that important. These are more than tools. They represent years of work, learning, and growth. You need to return them. The process was tense, with moments of negotiation, hesitation, and silent stares. I explained the importance of each item, the effort behind it, and the impact of losing it. Slowly, piece by piece, my equipment returned to me. My parents finally realized the consequences of their actions. I emerged with not just my cameras, but a renewed understanding of the power of strategy, patience, and persistence. My parents took my dream pet. I fought to bring it back. Expanded version. I had dreamed of adopting a dog for months. Every detail mattered: the breed, the temperament, the way I would care for it. It wasn't just a pet. It was a companion, a responsibility, a piece of my heart. Then, my parents gave it to my sibling. My heart broke. I felt anger, sadness, and betrayal. But I knew that acting impulsively would solve nothing. I needed a plan. I prepared a detailed argument, outlining my preparation, research, and the effort I had invested. I confronted my sibling calmly but firmly. Sibling, but Mom and Dad said I could take care of it. It's not about taking care, it's about who earned the right. I planned, researched, and prepared. You need to return it. There were tense moments, tears, and silent standoffs. Slowly, my sibling understood, and the pet was returned. The process taught a lesson about responsibility, strategy, and standing up for what is yours. Bringing the pet home wasn't just a victory, it was a testament to patience, planning, and resilience. All of these stories revolve around a central theme: betrayal, injustice, or poor decisions made by people close to us, usually family members, who take or redirect something deeply important without understanding or respecting the effort behind it. From a dream car, a bike, or a house, to a laptop, sports equipment, photography gear, scholarships, job opportunities, or even a beloved pet, each story centers on losing something that represents years of dedication, hard work, dreams, and personal sacrifice. Initially, the protagonists experience an overwhelming flood of emotions: shock, disbelief, anger, frustration, and sadness. These are natural and understandable reactions to the betrayal they face. At first, it might feel like there is no solution, like the situation is entirely unfair and irreversible. But as the stories unfold, the key difference emerges. The protagonists do not surrender to impulsive reactions or blind rage. Instead, they take a step back, reflect on the situation, and plan their response with strategy, patience, and intelligence. They document evidence, organize proof, and approach those who wronged them with calm, firm, and logical communication. They negotiate, explain the significance of what was taken, and remain consistent in their efforts to recover what rightfully belongs to them. Importantly, the approach is never about revenge for revenge's sake, but about restoring fairness, dignity, and justice. In every story, the protagonists eventually recover what is rightfully theirs, whether it's a physical item, a career opportunity, or even a dream that was temporarily stolen. Beyond the tangible recovery, there's a deeper victory. The protagonists emerge stronger, wiser, and more confident. They develop a profound understanding of personal boundaries, respect for effort, and the importance of standing up for oneself. Their journey demonstrates that even when betrayal comes from those we love, it is possible to confront it effectively, uphold our values, and teach a lesson about accountability and fairness. Respect the effort and dedication of others. Everything of value is built through time, effort, and persistence. Never take someone's hard work lightly. React strategically, not impulsively. Acting out of anger or frustration often worsens the situation. Calm, thoughtful action produces meaningful and lasting results. Document and organize your rights. Evidence, records, and clear organization strengthen your case when facing unfair treatment. Communicate firmly but respectfully. Clear, rational communication can resolve conflicts better than yelling, aggression, or emotional outbursts. Persistence and patience are key. Even when those around you resist, staying determined and consistent allows justice to prevail. Turn betrayal into growth. Every act of injustice carries a lesson about resilience, intelligence, and self-respect. Justice can be achieved without hostility. Recovering what belongs to you doesn't have to be destructive. It can be done ethically and wisely. Empower yourself through experience. Overcoming personal betrayal strengthens confidence, emotional intelligence, and problem-solving skills. Final inspirational message. Even when betrayal or injustice comes from the people we love most, it is possible to take back what is ours through intelligence, patience, and determination. True victory is not just the recovery of stolen or lost items, but the personal growth, resilience, and wisdom gained along the way. By standing firm, documenting your efforts, and acting strategically, you can transform situations of betrayal into lessons of empowerment, justice, and moral strength. Ultimately, these stories teach us that, no matter how deep the betrayal, your dedication, patience, and strategic action can restore what is yours, and in doing so, teach everyone involved the true value of respect, effort, and fairness.